What's going on, everybody? I hope you guys are having a great day. DJ Zardonic here. Today I have something really special to share with you guys, which is a new synthesizer called the Mono by Norand. Between you and me, I think I had more than enough monosynths, and nothing really would justify me getting another monosynth, and well, how wrong was I? These guys came up with something that is definitely not your usual monophonic synth, and I'm about to show you exactly why. On first look, a lot of people have thought that this is actually a 303 clone, but when you dig deeper into it, you realize that it actually has nothing to do with that. And I mean that in the best possible way, because it's a really, really powerful machine. Just to give you an example of what this thing can do, and one of like the highlights of it is that there's essentially one LFO per each of the parameters right here. Meaning that, yeah, basically every knob that you see here can be modulated by the X mod right here. No need to use a mod matrix, because every time you touch one of the parameters, essentially, it is automatically linked. So let's say if I want to affect the frequency in oscillator 2, I just have to add an amount here. And as you can see, the further it goes, the brighter the LED here is. And the closer it goes to 0, then the dimmer it is. If you see here, I'm changing this. This is off because there's no modulation. If I change this right here, this is all the way up. So the modulation rate and the modulation amount is going to be independently saved per parameter if you're actually using it. Other than that, of course, we have a 64-step fully capable sequencer, which will save the amount for each of the parameters per step, meaning that you can edit each of the steps and you can create extremely complex sequences. I'm not going to go that far with this one because that's probably going to take me I don't know, hours. And I'm just trying to keep this as short as possible because I want you guys to have an idea of what you can do with it. So let's start with what you can see right here. Of course, 2 oscillators with through 0 frequency modulation and hard sync from oscillator 1 to 2. Waveform selector, detune, oscillator 1 and 2 mixing amounts. State variable filter that goes from band pass all the way through low pass to high pass. This envelope amount knob is actually linked to the main amplitude knob, which as you can see is a standard attack, sustain, decay, release envelope. One thing to keep in mind though, which was something that actually happened to me when I was trying to build sequences, the sequencer will send trigger, meaning that it only triggers attack and decay. This right here, however, will work if you send MIDI notes to it, which you very much can. You have MIDI in, MIDI through, MIDI out, and you can also, of course, send gate and CV to it. Right now I have it connected via USB to my DAW, and I want to talk about DAW integration right here because at least in my case, I'm using FL Studio, and FL Studio has a MIDI out plugin, which allows me to set each of the CC parameters in the plugin, so I sent exactly that control change message. The list of the numbers for all the parameters can be found in the manual, which is something you probably want to have while you are learning the synth. Admittedly, it's going to be one of those synths that's going to take you a while to learn, but once you do, you're going to see how simple everything becomes. On this section right here, obviously, if you want to use any of the options down here, you have to hit the function button. That's why it's red. That's why the text is red. Seems pretty self-explanatory, but to be fair, a lot of people do forget that. It also happened to me, but I'm going to go ahead and load Bank A, Patch 1. You have 16 presets for bank, 4 banks, 64 presets, which I think is more than enough. Anyway, that's just me playing around with the first preset, and as you could hear, with very little changes, you can already get very interesting results. What I want to do is start doing a sequence from scratch so you can see why I love this thing so much. There's one feature that can go a really long way to create inspiring riffs, at least in my case. I'm going to go ahead and load one of the presets right here. This preset is empty, so it'll sound like this. There's nothing in the sequencer, so let's try doing... You know what? I'm just going to go ahead and fill the whole thing up. Maybe I want to add some accents here. You can change, by the way, what the accent does, which means every time the sequencer goes through any step where the accent is on, then it will change all the parameters based on what amount you have on the accent. There you go. I just changed the resonance and you already have something different. Now, my favorite feature, the randomize function. Essentially, if you play a sequence and you hit this right here, this randomized the amount in the parameter that I had selected while I was using this function. In this case, that was the filter cutoff. And essentially, it will randomize it from the minimum amount to the top amount, meaning that I can set the minimum and maximum values right here just by doing that. In this case, of course, I went a little bit more extreme because I went from all the way down to all the way up, but I think I've got a nice result. However, maybe I don't like it that much. Maybe instead I can just record this manually, and this is how you do it. Love it. Now let's get nastier. There you go. Yeah, that's my kind of jam right there. It's just such an inspiring little thing. Like, you can go like this for ages and create something like, I don't know, I saved this one the other day that I really liked, by the way. It has a very, very sort of gnarly, but at the same time clean sound to it. Here's another one. Let's go ahead and load a default patch. I'm running nothing here. There's nothing activated here. I'm gonna go ahead and send this guy some MIDI notes from my trusty PWM Malevolent. I'm gonna activate the ARP right here, and I'm gonna leave it on and see what happens. So you can see the MIDI notes right here. There you go. That's my kind of jam. Now we are effectively turning it into an acid machine. let's try doing a bass sound. The sweet spot seems to be somewhere around here. But if you go too low in the waveform parameter for oscillator 1, then it kind of messes it up a little bit. So, well, the cool thing is that you can control every single one of these parameters on FL Studio, or any DAW for that matter, but in my case I'm using FL Studio, so that's the one that I know. So essentially you would just set an automation clip on your DAW and then set like the minimum value to something that sounds pleasant, so to say, and then the max value right before it starts being too much. You could also add a little bit of LFO right here. As this was the last parameter that I used, it's going to be the one that's going to be affected. So let's see what happens here. This sounds about right to me. That doesn't sound terrible now, does it? So as you heard, most definitely not your normal run-of-the-mill monophonic synthesizer. Incredible sound, lots of possibilities. I mean, to be honest, I was probably just scratching the surface, but this video is already over 20 minutes long, and I was trying to keep it as short as possible. It's taking me many hours to really get to master it, and there's way too much under the hood. But then again, that's exactly why it's making it stand out from the rest, and why you're probably gonna hear it on my next productions. See you guys on the next video.